What do you think of when you hear the word pollution? Your mind might jump to plastic water bottles in the Pacific, or factories dumping toxic waste. But you might not be thinking of some of the biggest threats to our ecosystems.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm James.
I'm Haley.
I'm Alex.
I'm Kieran.
We're seniors from the Marine Academy of Technology and Environmental Science.
Are you familiar with the Barnegat Bay? It's a huge body of water in Ocean County. You can see it right behind you. It's 42 miles long. It's pretty cool. But do you know what's not cool? Non-point source pollution. So what is non-point source pollution? Non-point source pollution is the pollution of bodies of water, such as the Barnegat Bay, resulting from the collection of pollutants over a large area. Unlike pollution from industrial and sewage treatment plants, non-point source pollution comes from many diffuse sources. It's caused by rainfall or snowmelt moving over and through the ground. As the runoff moves, it picks up and carries away natural and human-made pollutants, finally depositing them in streams, rivers, and lakes. Almost all water that enters the ground within the Barnegat Bay watershed eventually makes its way into the Barnegat Bay, including any pollutants with it. Here you can see a map of the entire Barnegat Bay watershed. This means that even if you're far away from the bay, if you're within the Barnegat Bay watershed, you could still be polluted.
We contribute to the pollution of watersheds such as the Barnegat Bay.
In the diagram pictured here, it is shown that forestry, cropland, urban areas, along with other things, represent a large portion of the areas that non-point source pollution can be traced back to. It is in these areas that people like you and me might contribute to the pollution on a day-to-day basis.
For example, think about your front lawn. Oftentimes a fertilizer is applied to help the grass grow. However, an introduction of too much fertilizer can lead to the excess amount of nutrients being swept away into our aquatic ecosystems. How about the waste our animals produce? If not properly disposed of, the waste, which contains things like fecal coliform, can also end up in our waterways. Other big threats include litter, oil, grease, toxic chemicals, sediment, and road salt.
Like mentioned before, rainwater that is unable to penetrate the ground surface will pick up these pollutants and sweep them into storm drains or directly into the nearest body of water, which we call runoff. Once these pollutants enter the water, they can pose a serious threat to the organisms living there.
What aquatic species heavily depends on nitrogen and phosphorus as a nutrient? Algae. As nitrogen concentration in a body of water increases, so does algal growth. Once a body of water exceeds what is considered a healthy amount of nitrogen, algae rapidly grows, causing a bloom. As algae blooms grow in size, they consume more and more oxygen and block sunlight from reaching submerged aquatic vegetation. So, algae consume more oxygen and prevent submerged plants from producing oxygen. As dissolved oxygen levels become critical, fish and other aquatic life show reduced activity or face death. Algae may take over entire lakes through this process. Not all algae are green algae. Red algae are caused by dinoflagellates, and blue-green algae, which are caused by cyanobacteria, are actually toxic in high concentrations. Not only do they consume oxygen disproportionately, but swimming in contaminated water can cause respiratory irritation and sickness. When the algae eventually die, the bacteria that decompose this dead algae consume even more dissolved oxygen. What algae blooms leave behind are called dead zones. Fun fact, cyanobacteria released the first oxygen into our atmosphere approximately 2 billion years ago to levels that are about 10% of today's. Overall degradation of coastal ecosystems. In addition to the aforementioned types of non-point source pollution, eutrophication depletes our ecosystems. This affects coastal food sources, tourism, and government expenditure.
Now that you know what non-point source pollution is, you may be asking yourself, what can I do to help stop it? Well, there's actually quite a lot. The biggest thing that a normal person can do is to take it easy on things like fertilizer when treating their lawns. Many fertilizers contain a large amount of phosphorus and nitrogen that, when washed away into our waterways by rainfall, can have a disastrous effect on our ecosystem. There's other small things that you can do as well, such as just picking up after your pets when they do their business, or picking up litter off of the street to make sure it doesn't wash into our watershed. But the best way to have an impact is to get directly involved Through working with organizations such as Clean Ocean Action, you can have a direct part in cleaning up the beaches and waterways that make our Barnegat Bay watershed so great and beautiful. Thank you. Have a good day.